a lot of our legislative engagement. I get to do field trips like this. I try to help get lawmakers into schools so that they can see the charter schools and see you guys working and learning in action. And then I'm going to let Buddy introduce himself. This is Dan Quisenberry, and he is our MAPSA president. So,
and our desk mover. Yep.
Our desk and chair getter. But because of time, so we've got a pretty fluid agenda. We're going to be moving and grooving today. Lots of fun things we've got in the day. So I'm going to let Buddy take over.
Depend on all the people who are part of the charter school world to help us with the efforts that we do. But MAPSA stands for the Michigan Association of Public School Academies. That's way too long to say, so we just call ourselves MAPSA. A public school academy is the official name for a charter school. So all of you attend a public school academy. Just a little bit about charter schools and why they were founded in Michigan. We're celebrating, I think we're going on 32 years now that we've had charter schools in Michigan. But as you know, charter schools are public schools. They're no different than any other public school. The only difference is that each charter school was set up to serve a specific community or to serve a certain type of learner or to provide a kind of education that's not provided in the traditional schools in your neighborhood. But other than that, charter schools are the same as any other public schools. We have to follow all the same rules. We have to have certified teachers. You guys have to take all the same tests that everybody else takes. But there are a few things that are really special about charter schools. One of them is that your families had to choose this school for you. You were not just automatically, I live in Westland, so I'm going to go to that school, or I live in Detroit, so I'm going to go to that school. Your parents, every student that goes to a charter school, your family had to make the choice that, along with you, that's the school that they thought was going to be the best fit for you. So charter schools are unique in the fact that you don't just automatically go there because you live in that community. You have to choose to go to that school. So it makes it special. So Universal Learning Academy is special because all of your families looked at all the options they had. They decided that was the best option for you. So here's where we come into play and where you guys come into play as well. So the people who work in that building right over there that we're going to be visiting in just a few minutes, the state capitol, the senators and representatives who work over there, as well as the governor, whose office is just 2 buildings down that way, they make a lot of decisions that affect you. They're the ones who get to decide how much money your schools are going to get to pay all your teachers and to buy all your supplies and to keep the heat on in the building and everything else. They decide how much money you should be worth and how much money you're going to get. And they make all the other rules that affect students. They decide what tests you need to take. They decide how long your school year needs to be. The one that came up lately that's going to impact all of you, that like the biggest issue that they were dealing in dealing with education in the last month or so, had to do with the cell phone ban. Are you guys aware of what's been going on with that? So what's right now? What's the rule at ULA about cell phones? I'm sorry. What is it?
0 tolerance on the phone.
In terms of are you allowed to have phones with you in school? You have to. Okay, so when you get to school in the morning, you have to put it in your locker, and it has to stay there all day. Okay, got it. So, did you do that before they changed the law?
Yeah.
So you didn't wait for these people to tell you what you had to do. Your school decided, okay, this is what we're going to do. So that was the big issue for the last month or so. They were debating about what they should do with the cell phone ban there, and it actually was a really unique issue in the fact that there were both Republicans and Democrats who agreed, and they hardly ever agree on anything when it comes to issues involving education, but they all agreed on that, or most of them agreed on that they thought that was a good idea. The governor agreed on that. But there were people that came there and advocated on both sides for that. Some people saying, yes, I think you should ban cell phones during the school day. Students need to be able to focus. Other people came there and said, no, you should not do that. Students should be able to have their phones with them during the day in case there's an emergency or in case they want to look something up or whatever. But that was an issue that they decided. So you were already doing that at your school, but the people in that building over there, they voted that the entire state now has to follow those rules. The other thing that they do that impacts all of you, the biggest thing they do every year, is they decide how much money your schools are going to receive to help educate you. It would be great, it would be wonderful if everybody agreed, everybody over there in both parties agreed, the governor, it'd be great if they all agreed that all students should be treated equally. That everybody we shouldn't say, if you go to this kind of a school, you're going to get more money than if you go to this kind of a school, you're going to get less money. It would be great if everyone agreed. It would be great if they all value you the same as everybody else. But unfortunately, that's not the case. Unfortunately, every year when it comes to the budget, there are certain senators or representatives who feel that charter school students should be worth less money. They just don't like charter schools, or they have issues with the way you're organized or other things. So they say, traditional public school students should get this much money, charter school students should get this much money. So that's where we come in. We are your organization, your advocacy organization in Lansing, and it's basically our job, Mary Ann, me, Dan, the other people who work at MAPSA. We have to go over and convince the people who work in that building that your schools are wonderful, that they're doing a great job of educating you, and that there's no reason that you should not be worth as much money as everyone else. So that's one of the biggest issues that we have to deal with all the time. And it's a year-long process. So we're just going to walk through. We have a few slides here that kind of talk a little bit about what charter schools are. These are some of the things when we're talking to lawmakers that we stress to them so that they can see the value in charter schools. So these are just some of the basic facts that we think are really, really important. We want them to know that charter schools primarily serve a very diverse group of students, but also a lot of economically disadvantaged students go to charter schools. So we don't want them to have this perception that it's just a bunch of rich elite kids who are going there and what do they need extra money for. The exact opposite is true. So these are the kind of students who are in charter schools right now. 50% of students are African American, 10% are English language learners, 76% are students who are classified as being economically disadvantaged, and 10% are part of the Latino community. So these are things that we stress every time we talk to lawmakers. And then the next one here, this kind of gets into how well charter schools perform. There's research that's done all the time that looks at how well charter schools educate students and comparing that to how students in other types of schools receive their education. And this is a study that we always like to point out. This is from Stanford University in California that pointed out that students in charter schools learn more and they learn faster. That's true with you, and it's true at charter schools across the state. This is not our opinion. This is a fact-based research study, so we point that out to them as well. And then what's the next one? Okay, this is another one that's really important when it comes to us looking at how valuable a charter school education is. Charter schools educate students in a much more effective way, and they do it for less money. So that's something that's very important to the senators and representatives who work over there. So this is something that we like to point out to them as well. Charter schools are 32% more cost effective. And then this last slide here kind of gets into the different ways that we try to enlist the help of everyone in the charter school community to help and us get the word out. Because it's only going to go so far if Mary Ann or Dan or me or one of our other lobbyists talks to the people over there. They need to hear from you. They need to hear from your families. They need to hear from your parents. They need to hear from the teachers that work in your school, the principals who work in your school, the board members who work there. So all year long, we do all of these activities to bring people here to Lansing so they can meet with them in person. And then we strongly encourage our schools to invite their lawmakers to visit, because there's no better way to convince somebody the value of your school than to actually have them visit your school. So I'm guessing at some point, I don't know how often it happens, but I'm sure that you've had your senator and your representative have visited your school. We get them in there all the time to try to meet with you, meet with students, to see for themselves the value of the education. We have a big event that we have every year called Charter Day at the Capitol. That was that picture that was up at the very beginning that had more than 1,000 people on the Capitol steps. It's held every year in the spring. This year it's April 22nd, where this year it's going to be close to 2,000 people from all over the state. There are about 300 charter schools that are everywhere in Michigan. They all come together for that one big day. This year it's April 22nd. It's a big celebration, and it's a great opportunity for the senators and representatives, lawmakers, to meet with the charter school students. So what you're going to do today is you're going to be hearing in just a little bit from somebody who was a lawmaker, who was a legislator. He's going to let you know what his job was when he was over there and what his job is now, and the different ways that people communicate with them. But we are basically going to be walking through the governmental process today. We're going to be, after we leave here, we're going to go and we're going to take a tour of the Capitol. The House and the Senate are not actually in session today, but the Capitol is open every day, so we're going to walk around, show you all those areas over there. We're going to come back here, have lunch, and then we're going to go down. Some of us are going to the State Board of Education, which is meeting today, and some people are going to go to the Supreme Court. So we're going to be touching on all the branches of government today.
I served my first term and was the chair of the transportation budget, which everybody here knows that transportation roads are an issue in Michigan, right? Really, really important thing. And I really just dug into it and earned a lot of the trust of my colleagues. In my second term, I became the chair of the House Appropriations Committee, which means there's a House chair and a Senate chair, and then a governor's budget office. I was one of 3 people that negotiates the budget for the state of Michigan. At the time was about $63 billion that I was in the room in charge of, including funding for charter schools, funding for our roads, public safety, all of those things. And I love it when groups like yours come to talk to us, right? Because in architecture school, everybody thinks architects are engineers. They're very different in my mind. Engineers are they're very specific to something. They know every little thing about a field. An architect is somebody who's kind of a thinker, a big picture person. I had a professor in architecture who would tell us that an engineer knows everything about nothing, and an architect knows nothing about everything. And when I got to Lansing, I realized I don't know anything about healthcare. I don't know anything about education. I know some about transportation because I've worked as a designer. Like, I know specifications of concrete and things like that. But there's all of these things that you get approached on that you know absolutely nothing about. I think a lot of politicians try to give an answer on everything rather than saying, let me find people who I think share my values and listen to them. And that's why I think it's really important when a group from charter schools come here. The representative before me was a big public school guy. He wasn't super friendly to charters. So a lot of my district was kind of pre-programmed to not be super friendly to charters. And it was important for the charter schools in my district to come to me to help me understand it. I am a huge supporter of charter schools today because of people like you coming and talking to me and understanding how it's affected your lives, how it's given you that opportunity. So, today I've run for Congress. I call it the best loss of my life. I'm so glad I'm not in Washington, D.C. I was Tudor Dixon's running mate. I was the lieutenant governor candidate in 2022, so I've campaigned the entire state, been to every corner of the state, all over the place, and lost that. Today I own 3 businesses, and I work right upstairs. I'm president of an organization called Michigan Forward. And again, I just emphasize, like, if you go back 20 years, owning a business is not something you do when you come from a family like mine, but you meet people along the way, you meet mentors, you meet people that like take their advice, work with them, and learn from them. It might bring you to a place like this. You might be working in an office upstairs here where every day I'm working on issues like charter schools or energy or roads, making sure that we have the best policy for the state of Michigan. I enjoyed my time as a legislator. It's a unique experience. I call it the best experience of my life and the worst experience of my life all overlapped. There's a ton of pressure, a ton of scrutiny with it. It's also incredible, right? Like I've stood on the top of the tower of the Mackinac Bridge because I chaired the transportation committee, and you get, like, I gotta go up there and see it, right? You get amazing experiences. You learn about incredible things. You guys are gonna go see the Capitol today. You're gonna walk in there and you're gonna look up at that dome, and I had an office in there. Like, I realized my kids come here, they look at that as like home. That's unique, right? That's an incredible experience that my 11-year-old runs and we're like, oh, let's go to Dad's office. Well, it's not my office anymore. But so, you know, take it all in. And with that, I just want to open it up for you guys. If you have questions for me about what it's like to be a legislator or that path to it. Does anybody, any questions? Yeah.
How did you begin getting yourself out there in your community? Like, how did you have your name set out so that people were like, oh, I know who that guy is. He did 1, 2, 3.
Yeah. I have people all the time ask me, if I want to run for office, what should I do? And I always tell them, get involved in your community because you care about your community, not because you want to run for office. People will sniff that out immediately, that you're only getting involved in this nonprofit or in this group because you want to run for office. Like, go find something in your community you care about. For my wife and I, we are very involved in Christian nonprofits, like Christian school, Christian radio station, all of these different. So that was my involvement, and I did it because I was passionate about it. And I did it for 12 years. Like, I'm working in business in that community. You meet people through the chamber. I think that this, I would tell you, don't ever set out to run for office. Set out to be involved in your community and to change it. That might lead you to run for office someday, and that's okay. Other questions?
I have one, Shane. So if they were to meet somebody over there, I know they're not in session today. If they were to meet someone, or if a lawmaker were to come to their school, what kind of stories would be the most important for them to tell that might really resonate with a legislator?
One thing you should all know is that legislators are real people living real lives, right? Like, I think a lot of people they have this belief that I can't have a relationship with that person, I can't talk to them. They're real people. They're average people. They go home at night and they have dinner just like you. They have wife, kids, whatever. They struggle with other things. So, like, don't ever be afraid to tell them what your story. Tell them why you're talking to them, why you're approaching them. Don't ever be afraid to try to build a relationship. 90% of the interactions a legislator has with the general public is negative, because people don't talk. You don't go talk to your legislator to tell them they're doing a great job, right? You talk to them when you're upset, right? If you proactively go talk to them as a friendly person, they will never forget that interaction because they don't get it very often. I'm all about relationship politics. If you go to your legislator and you say, I just want to learn what you do, I just want to get to know you, eventually you'll be able to say, I think I disagree with you on this, but I've learned where you're coming from, I get it, I'm not going to agree. They will never forget you. In fact, they're going to probably come to you and say, here's my card. Like, reach out to me anytime. Like, you're going to end up in it. It's a little bit harder when you get to that congressional level, but it'll work the same way. Like, they are having negative interactions all the time. If you're that one person who has a positive interaction with them, you're respectful of their time, and you start to just ask them questions and want to get to know them, like, they're going to value that. And someday they might be working on a charter school issue and they're thinking, man, who can I bring in to an event to talk? Oh, I know that person I met from the charter school. They're going to call you. That's how it works. They remember those interactions. So, like, don't be afraid of them, but, you know, stand out, be friendly to them. It's really easy to vote against somebody who yells at you every day. It's really hard to vote against somebody you respect, even if you're on the opposite side. Other questions? Yeah.
If you get the chance, if you get the chance to go back to history, would you still choose the same path for architecture, or would you just change it?
I would choose the same path for architecture because I think that falls into, like, I never set out to do politics. I think being involved in the business community and in my community led me to that. But, like, I would not go back and be like, I'm just going to go into political science. I think that that wide level of experience and range of things I did is what made me effective in this position. I went out and experienced what it's like to work at a small business, what it's like to work through in the construction industry through 2009 when there's nobody building anything and the industry is just dead. Like, I got to experience that, and it made me what I am here.
You were a lawmaker before. Did you ever work on a charter school bill?
Before I was a lawmaker, or
When
I was a lawmaker, no. I probably, on the funding side, yes. But because I was the chair of appropriations, I was much more on the funding side. I'm also a believer, like, my job I didn't come here wanting to write a bunch of bills. I wanted to come here, like, to get the government out of my way, so I was far more interested in that spending side. If you looked at the number of bills I passed in the time, I don't know, it's probably 4. It's not a ton, because my interest was more like, how does the spending side of this work? So I don't think I ever directly worked on a charter school policy bill. I definitely worked on charter school funding. Your hands up?
What was your path from like leaving college into business and then into like legislative and all the nonprofits and stuff?
Yeah, so
Like the timeline.
got my bachelor's in 2005 and got an internship at an architectural firm. I worked my way through my master's into 2009. I think it was probably about 2010 when I realized, like, I have this political interest and I'm just this guy who complains on social media and actually doesn't do anything. And I just connected with an old friend who was like, hey, I think I now know where I stand. I think I understand this. I think I have an interest in this. How do I get involved? And he just kind of brought me along and was like, hey, there's a party meeting here. There's this going on in our community. Come get involved in it. So for me, for the next 6 years, it was like a hobby. And then it just became like, well, why can't I be the one that runs? Why can't I do this? That was that. So, from 2010 to 2016 was just kind of me being an activist and enjoying learning more about the political stuff. And then now I make a career out of it, I guess. If I had to go back home and just focus on my businesses, that would be okay too. But for now, that's not where I'm called. So I don't know how much time we have, and if there's time for other questions.
I think those were the best questions.
I have a question that they asked me.
Yeah.
They're embarrassed to ask legislators. How is the salary usually of legislators, and what are some of the best perks that you get out of the job?
So, are there any perks? Yeah, I mean, the salary is public. It's $72,675, I think, which pre-COVID was a good salary. Post-COVID, it's not a bad. Like, again, I come from a place where my dad was picking vegetables in a field, so like, to me, it's not a bad salary. A lot of people who come from the business world are like, oh, it's tough, but you get expense accounts, you get opportunities, right? You have all kinds of opportunities. You can make the job whatever you want it. There's 100 days a year you come here, and you could go mess around the other 200 days, and you'd probably lose your election and never come back. That's not the reality of what most people are doing. I worked 365 days a year. I had to leave my church because it became overwhelming. That, like, there's things like that to happen, but it's an incredible experience. I would not ever tell you to view it as a career. View it as a temporary service you do. Always know what you're going to go back to, because if you have to keep the job, you will make decisions that you don't actually believe in. If you know what you're going back to, and you know that it would be a burden off of you, you will come here and just be you. I always tell, like, well, vote me out. Great. I would love to go back and spend time with my wife and kids. Vote me out. So I think it's really important to be in that situation. Like, have a career, know what you do, know what else is going. You can make a living doing this if you want to, but I think it's really important to have a career and know what it is you want to do the rest of your life.
Does it, just to follow, does it allow you to do a business on the side?
There are people who do that. My personality in it and my competitiveness, no. I tried for 4 months and realized, like, this isn't going to work. Like, I have to dedicate myself to this, and I was out I would come here and I drove back home. I lived 2 hours away. I would drive home every night and go to events every single night. So no, it didn't allow me to do it. There are people here who juggle that and manage that. Saw your hand again.
Oh, I was just gonna ask, like, have the connections still benefited your beliefs and you as a person today?
Sure. I mean, I wouldn't be working upstairs here if I didn't do this job, right? Like, I have no illusions about that. Like, I met people here that have changed my life. I probably, one of my businesses is residential design. I design houses for people. Probably all of the contractors who are calling me for that work they got to know me because I was their elected official. So, like, yeah, the relationships are a huge part of it. Yeah.
You mentioned you had to leave your church, like, due to the overwhelming. Has there been any point in your career where, like, you had to struggle with faith due to politics?
I mean, I've run at a statewide level. Like, I've had death threats. I've had kidnapping threats. I've had people threaten to kidnap my children, kill my children. So yeah, do you go through challenging times? Absolutely. Are there times that I wish, like, man, life would have been easier if I didn't do this? Yeah, but I would never talk anybody out of it again. I say it's the best experience of my life and the worst experience of my life all at once. Like, I would never tell you to not do it. I did it. I would.
The top of the Mackinac Bridge, too. Yeah, everyone can't do that. It's worth it for that alone. Okay, Marianne will tell you what we're going to be doing now.
Yeah, so first of all, I love that, and I hope that Shane sharing his experience and his journey inspires some of you to pursue that and think about that. How awesome would it be to get charter school alumni into the legislature so that you can use your voice, you can share your story, you can help others understand charter schools and what they're about, because we can tell you with the lawmakers that we talk to on a consistent basis, they're making decisions about charter schools when they don't understand charter schools. There's some lawmakers that don't even understand that charter schools are free and public and open to all students. They think that charter schools pick the best students. They think that charter schools, just because they are in a uniform, that they charge money. So how wonderful would it be to get charter school alumni to our legislature? So I hope that would inspire some of you to think about that.